What's up, everybody? Today I'm here to talk about some books that are non-R.L. Stine, non-Goosebumps books. I have not talked about any non-Goosebumps books in a while, or non-R.L. Stine stuff. I don't usually talk about or do reviews for a lot of the books that I read. I kind of turned this channel into mainly focused on R.L. Stine's content. But today I just decided to do something a little bit different and kind of give you guys an idea of some of the other stuff that I like reading. So recently, just this morning actually, I just finished the 5th book in the Tarzan series, Tarzan and the Jewels of Opar. But before I talk about this, let's back up a little bit. So, I believe it was last year. It was either last year or the year before that. I think it was last year. For the first time ever, I read the original Tarzan book, Tarzan of the Apes. And I absolutely fell in love with it. It became one of my all-time favorite books. This is one of the best books I've ever read, honestly. This is nothing like any of the Tarzan movies out there. I feel like a lot of people have probably seen some of the Tarzan movies or know Tarzan because of the film adaptations. But I'm here to tell you, for those of you who have not read the books, that the books are nothing like the movies, and the books are so much better. I read the very first Tarzan book last year, and this book was incredible. It is very action-packed, extremely violent, surprisingly so. I was not expecting it to be as violent as it is. There's some pretty descriptive scenes in here of blood and gore and just death and dismemberment. This book is not for the faint of heart. And for its time, this original Tarzan book was published in 1912. So yeah, this book is pretty old. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and obviously it led me to collecting and wanting to read the rest of the series. So there are a total of 24, I believe, 24 books in the Tarzan series, which is a lot. I didn't know anything about this series when I first got into it. I had no idea it was such a large series. I figured it was maybe just, the one original Tarzan story. But yeah, it turns out there's a whole series of Tarzan books. And I eventually, just recently this year, I decided to collect and start reading them all. And there's many different editions and printings of these books. I decided to go with this style of edition. They have these black borders. And I want to collect these ones because I like the covers of these ones the best. I'll show you the other ones I have here in a minute. But out of all the different editions, I feel like these ones have the coolest covers. So I've decided to collect these. And I have almost the complete series. I'm missing books. I don't remember which ones I'm missing, but it's not a whole lot. I think I'm missing 5 or 6 more books in the series. So I have almost the whole set. But yeah, this first Tarzan book is surprisingly well written. Edgar Rice Burroughs is a very capable writer. It's very pulpy fiction, so it's very action-oriented. It's not the most realistic thing in the world. You do have to suspend some disbelief with these. They're primarily just for entertainment value. But it is surprisingly well written. There is a lot of thematic stuff in here. Some deeper themes to it. It's a lot more smart and more of a clever story, I feel like, than most people would give it credit for or expect it to be. This first book is definitely my favorite one in this series that I've read so far. I don't think any of them will top that. But regardless, I'm still continuing to read through the series, and eventually will probably read all of them. But yeah, this first book, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I pretty much love this entire book, except for the ending, which is the reason it gets a 4.5. I wasn't a big fan of the way it ended. Sort of the final act, it has to do with Tarzan leaving the jungle and becoming civilized. And then it ends on sort of a cliffhanger, making it almost necessary that you read the sequels. So I wasn't a big fan of that. I wish this would have been more of a conclusive kind of standalone story. And I probably would have given this a perfect 5 out of 5 stars. And I'm not padding that rating either. You guys know me, I don't give books high ratings like that very often. But yeah, this first Tarzan book is now one of my all-time favorite books. Not too long after that, I read the sequel. Of course, I had to find out what happened with the ending on a cliffhanger. The second book is called The Return of Tarzan. And unfortunately, this one was not as good. This one I think I gave a 2.5 out of 5 stars. And I did not like the first half of this book at all, to be honest. The first half of this book deals with Tarzan living in society. He's moved out of the jungle. He's kind of grown accustomed to the ways of society. He wears clothes now. He's not going around naked in the jungle. But a lot of the first half of the book is him still dealing with villainous characters, dealing with challenges. There's some bad guys that are out to get him and his wife. And it's basically Tarzan now being Tarzan in the modern concrete jungle, I guess you could say, playing James Bond essentially. He's like jumping around from building to building, fighting these bad guys. He's like basically playing a super spy type character. There's parts of the story where he travels to another country. I don't remember a lot of the plot details of this. But I didn't really care for the first half of that because I wanted to see Tarzan in the jungle. I didn't really care for all of this civilized stuff. Tarzan playing this like James Bond type of guy. And that's another thing too about these books is Tarzan is basically invincible. Like I mentioned, you have to suspend some disbelief in these books. The character of Tarzan, as badass as he is and as fun as he is to read about, he's basically the invincible hero stereotype. Nothing can defeat him. He's Tarzan. He pretty much kicks everyone's ass and saves the day in every single one of these books. So yeah, there is a little bit of familiar like formula with these and predictability. You can kind of know what you're getting into with each Tarzan book that you read. That might turn some people off, that a lot of these kind of go through the same motions and same plot points over again. It does get a little bit tiring, I will admit. But I still enjoy reading about it because Tarzan is just such an awesome, such a fun character, even though he's practically invincible. So yeah. The third Tarzan book, The Beasts of Tarzan. This one was very surprising. I enjoyed this way more than the second one. This one basically has Tarzan going back to the jungle again, and I believe I'm little foggy on some of the plot details again. But I believe it goes through some of the same motions. He gets lost in the jungle somehow, and he trains some animals to fight by his side. And he's working through with these animals throughout the story to help save the day, defeat the bad guys. I believe his wife, Jane, is kidnapped. I think they end up getting married in the second book. And I believe somehow she gets kidnapped in this one, if I remember correctly. And he trains this panther. He goes to live with these apes for a while, and he like kind of trains them and helps them fight by his side. This story is very, very action-packed, very, very suspenseful. I really enjoyed this one. Just the whole concept of him sort of just having the entire like African jungle at his side fighting against these evil, villainous characters and these tribes. It was just a blast, an absolute blast reading it. Again, not the most realistic thing in the world, but just very fun. Just kind of cheesy, but very entertaining nonetheless. So yeah, that was the third book. The fourth book is The Son of Tarzan. And this one, well, if you can't guess by the title, is about the son of Tarzan, who just so happens to get lost out in the jungle and basically relive Tarzan's experience growing up with the apes, having to survive out in the wilderness, becoming the alpha male, fighting against these gorillas, killing lions with his bare hands, basically becomes Tarzan himself. And I'll just be upfront, this is my least favorite out of the Tarzan books I've read so far because out of all of them, this one requires the biggest suspension of disbelief. This one really feels like it's just kind of going through the same motions again of having Tarzan's son go into the jungle and go through all the same things that Tarzan did. And it just so happens that because he's the son of Tarzan, he inherited Tarzan's genes, and he's just naturally this big, muscular guy that's invincible and can single-handedly defeat any animal in the jungle. And it's just a bit much for me. So yeah, this one I didn't care for as much. I think that I gave this one like a two, probably like a flat 2 out of 5 stars. Not horrible, but definitely the least favorite out of the ones I've read so far. So yeah, this is The Son of Tarzan. And then the one I read most recently, again, I just finished this today, and that is book number 5, Tarzan and the Jewels of Opar. And this one was actually pretty good. I liked it a lot more than The Son of Tarzan. Basically, Tarzan and his wife, everything is going well. Tarzan and his wife, they have two homes. They have their, like, I guess more civilized, their regular home out in London, I think, or somewhere in Europe, where Tarzan originated from. And then they also have a really nice, like, vacation home in Africa where Tarzan can kind of be close to the jungle and feel at home there. And basically what happens is Tarzan goes on this jungle expedition to retrieve this gold. I think some kind of situation comes up where him and his wife are in need of money. And Tarzan and this tribe that he's with, they're like friends, and they help protect Tarzan because he has a lot of enemies. And they go on this expedition to retrieve this gold. And what happens is Tarzan gets knocked out. There's this accident, this cave like caves in on him. A rock, I think, hits him in the head. He happens to get amnesia. He encounters this villain that was in book 2 named La, who is this priestess of the flaming god, I think is what she's known as. And she lives in this very like prehistoric tribe of these people who just live out in the wild, and they basically like sacrifice people to the sun, just like very villainous characters. And Tarzan gets captured and it has to like fight and escape from these people. He gets amnesia after getting hit in the head, so he's trying to remember where he's at. There's actually quite a lot going on in this book. I'm not going to do a full detailed review of this. There's almost too much going on in this one, but I did really like it. While all of that is taking place, Jane gets kidnapped. There's this Arabic tribe that comes in and captures Jane and is going to like hold her for ransom against Tarzan. There's a lot going on here, but this was a pretty good one. A lot better than The Son of Tarzan. I'd probably give this one like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So yeah, that was Tarzan and the Jewels of Opar. And then I have not read this one yet. This is book number 6. I'll probably take my time reading through these. I feel like I'll burn myself out. I can't read through these too often, just kind of once in a while. But book number 6, The Jungle Tales of Tarzan. This one, it actually goes back to the timeline of the first book. And this one is actually a collection of short stories of just different events throughout Tarzan's life. Again, during the timeline of the first book. So I'm really curious to read this one. With the first book being my favorite, I feel like this one might be pretty enjoyable. I guess we'll see. And I believe from there on out, the rest of the books in the series are just more tales just focused on Tarzan and just the crazy, unrealistic adventures he gets into. So yeah. But out of the first 5 that I've read, let me gather them here. I would say the first one, by far and away, my favorite. Gave that one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The third one, The Beast of Tarzan, comes in at close second. That one's a solid 4 out of 5 stars. I love The Beast of Tarzan. Mainly just based on the concept alone. It was just so much fun with all of the battles. There's a lot of action and fight sequences in this where Tarzan is just fighting basically entire armies of people with just him and then all of these crazy animals at his side. So yeah, just a very fun story. My third favorite is probably The Jewels of Opar, which I gave like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Then coming in at my fourth favorite so far would be The Return of Tarzan, which is like a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Or maybe a little bit higher, maybe like a 3 out of 5 stars. And then coming in and last place is The Son of Tarzan. I didn't really care for that one all that much. But yeah, so these are some of the books that I read outside of Goosebumps and R.L. Stine. I like reading classics. I don't read through classic books a whole lot. But after discovering Tarzan last year and discovering my love for the series, gradually I will probably read through the entire series and maybe eventually do a ranking or something for the series. I don't know. But yeah, this is what I've been reading lately. Just finished the 5th book. And that's all I have for today's video, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are, if you've read these books or not. If you've never read them before, I would maybe recommend checking them out. You might be surprised. At least read the first one. I don't really think it's necessary. I wouldn't recommend going through the whole series. That is a pretty big commitment anyway with like 24 books in the series. But I would maybe recommend at least reading the first book. The first book is just an absolute classic. I was never even a Tarzan fan until I read the first book. Like, I'd seen some of the movies growing up. I watched the the Disney movie animated film. But aside from that, I've never really just been a fan of this character, of this series. But after reading the first book, I'm in love with it now. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the book so far in the series. If you've read them, let me know what you think of them down in the comments below. And that's all I have for today, guys. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.